beloved soul, stop for a moment. Something in your spirit tightened the second you read the words, "You're already behind." And you felt it, didn't you? That quiet sting, that sudden heaviness, that whisper you tried to ignore, but heaven would not let you scroll past this moment. Because God has been trying to reach you urgently, gently, repeatedly. And this is the first time you've paused long enough to hear Him. You haven't fallen behind in life the way people think. You've fallen behind in alignment. Behind in the rhythm heaven has been trying to pull you into. Behind in stepping into the version of yourself God has already prepared. But listen, you are not being scolded. You are being rescued. This is intervention, not accusation. There's been a pressure on your chest lately, a strange restlessness, a feeling like you're running but not getting anywhere. You've called it exhaustion. You've called it confusion. But the truth is far deeper. You've been out of sync with your divine timetable, and heaven is calling you back into position. You feel that, don't you? That tug behind your ribs, that knowing you can't explain, that sense that something important is happening in the unseen. God saw the days you froze when you should have moved, the moments you doubted when you should have stepped boldly, the seasons where wounds spoke louder than wisdom. You're not being judged for it, but you are being awakened. Because the breakthrough season assigned to your name has already begun, and you're standing at the door while the world behind it waits. Hear me, chosen one, you are not late in life. You are late to yourself. And heaven refuses to let you stay behind another day. Before I reveal the deeper reason God is speaking this warning, pause with me. Place your hand over your heart. Feel the shift happening inside you right now. Because what's coming next will explain the delays, the missed signs, the inner battles, and why God is urgently pulling you forward. Beloved, stay with me. This is where your awakening begins. Chosen one, listen closely. What you're feeling right now is not ordinary pressure. It is the weight of a divine schedule that has already moved ahead of you, waiting for you to catch up. Your spirit knows this. That's why you've been waking up tired even on days you didn't do much. That's why your mind keeps drifting to the same thought. I should be further than this by now. You're not imagining it. You're sensing heaven's timeline pulling on your destiny. God says you're already behind. Not because you're lazy, not because you failed, not because you lack discipline, but because you've been fighting battles that were never meant to be yours. Emotional battles, invisible battles. Delays rooted in fear disguised as waiting for clarity. Hesitation wrapped in the language of humility. Patterns you thought were personality traits, but were actually spiritual weights quietly slowing your ascent. Listen, you didn't fall behind because you were weak. You fell behind because you were wounded. And when a heart carries too much unhealed weight, even good opportunities begin to feel heavy. Does that sound familiar? There were moments heaven opened doors, but you hesitated. You felt unprepared. You overthought what God had already anointed. And while others ran ahead with half your gifting, you stood still because your spirit was tired from years of carrying burdens you never told anyone about. But God saw every tear you wiped before stepping outside. He saw every silent breakdown, every night you prayed. Lord, please don't let me miss my purpose. This message is the answer to that prayer. God is not warning you to shame you. He's warning you because acceleration has already been released, and you can't walk into a season of acceleration with the mindset of someone who barely survived their last season. The wealth mindset, the destiny alignment, the emotional healing, everything you've been crying for is already prepared. But heaven cannot pour abundance into a vessel that's still shaped by yesterday's fear. Chosen one, hear this. Your next season requires a version of you your past cannot sabotage. And this is why heaven sounds urgent today, because you've treated your delays like coincidences when they were actually spiritual alarms. Every time you felt drained, every time you felt stuck, every time you felt like life was moving without you, that wasn't failure. It was prophecy, a holy nudge saying, if you don't rise now, you will miss what has already begun. You feel that truth landing in your chest, don't you? The reason you're behind is simple. You've been dimming your light to stay comfortable. You've been shrinking your voice to avoid conflict. You've been choosing peace even when it costs your purpose. You've been loyal to environments that stopped being loyal to your growth. And heaven says, no more. Not in this season, not with what's coming, not with what's waiting for you on the other side of obedience. Before we go deeper, take a breath, because the next part is where God reveals exactly why your life has felt paused and what must shift for your breakthrough season to fully unlock. But chosen one, before we continue, pause for 1 second. If this word is stirring your spirit, subscribe so you don't miss the messages heaven is aligning for you in this season. This isn't a channel, it's a lifeline God is using to keep you in rhythm with your calling. Now, listen carefully. We're about to step into the revelation you were meant to hear months ago. Chosen one, there is something you must finally face. You didn't fall behind because life moved too fast. You fell behind because you kept slowing yourself down to match a version of you God has already outgrown. There were seasons when heaven whispered, move now. But you waited for a sign that was already inside you. There were opportunities shaped perfectly for your calling, yet you stepped back because you believed someone else was more prepared, more worthy, more ready than you. But listen, readiness is not a feeling. Readiness is a summons. And heaven has been summoning you for far longer than you've realized. That heaviness you feel, that quiet anxiety when you wake up, that sudden awareness that time is slipping faster than it used to. It is not fear, it is your destiny tapping on the walls of your spirit, telling you that the window is open now, and windows do not stay open forever. Does that resonate with you? You've been asking God for a breakthrough, not knowing the breakthrough has been waiting for your permission. The spiritual awakening you've prayed for, the abundance you've declared, the elevation you've envisioned, all of it stands inches from your life. But God will not force a destiny you refuse to pursue. You've been carrying assignments meant for an older version of you. You've been living in strategies that no longer match your calling. You've been navigating life with a mindset that cannot support the weight of your next chapter. This is why your spirit feels restless. This is why familiar places feel too small. This is why conversations drain you instead of feeding you. This is why environments that once felt safe now feel suffocating. Heaven has already shifted your season, chosen one, but your habits are still living in the old one. Hear this clearly. Your spirit moved ahead, but your lifestyle stayed behind. You've been trying to maintain relationships that God already released. You've been trying to revive assignments He already closed. You've been trying to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand your purpose. You've been trying to fit into rooms God has been trying to pull you out of. And the danger isn't that you moved slowly. The danger is that you didn't move at all. Chosen one, you've been surviving when God has been calling you to ascend. That's why you feel the tension. That's why everything feels off, even when nothing is technically wrong. That's why your joy comes in momentary flashes instead of lasting rivers. Your spirit is standing in the future while your decisions are anchored in the past. You can feel it, can't you? That unmistakable inner pull. That sensation that something greater is calling your name. It's not imagination, it's destiny alignment activating inside you. But hear this part with your whole heart. There are consequences to staying behind. Not punishment, but missed timing. Blessings have expiration windows, not because God withdraws them, but because you were designed to receive them at a specific level of maturity, clarity, and courage. If you do not rise, if you do not shift, if you do not break the patterns that have held you hostage, the opportunities will wait only so long before God assigns them to someone who will steward them with boldness. This is why the warning feels sharp. This is why the urgency feels holy. This is why your chest tightens when you hear these words. God is calling you out of stagnation, out of hesitation, out of emotional paralysis, out of the version of you that settled, delayed, and tolerated too much. Chosen one, hear this prophetic truth. The delay was not the enemy. The delay was your agreement with comfort. And comfort kills more destinies than fear ever will. You've hidden your greatness under humility that was never holy. It was fear in disguise. You've lowered your voice so others wouldn't feel threatened. You've questioned the value of your gifts because people around you were too blind to see them. You've dimmed your light to keep peace in rooms that were intimidated by your calling. God says, enough. Your playing small has spiritual consequences. Your hesitation has created detours. Your self-doubt has delayed blueprints heaven already released. And the longer you stay behind, the heavier life will feel. Not because God is punishing you, but because your spirit refuses to live beneath its assignment. Chosen one, there is far more in you than you've allowed yourself to walk in. But potential becomes a prison when you refuse to open the door. Before we go any deeper, if your spirit is saying, "This is for me," then comment below with the phrase, "I step into my timing now." Let that declaration become a spiritual contract, a seal that pulls your mind, your emotions, and your decisions back into alignment with the season God already placed your destiny in. Now breathe. Because what I'm about to reveal next will explain exactly what stole your timing, who benefited from your hesitation, and why heaven will not allow you to fall further behind. Chosen one. There is a truth you've avoided for years, not because you're blind, but because your heart is tender. You didn't fall behind only because of you. Your timing was stolen. Your momentum was interrupted. Your confidence was quietly dismantled by environments and people who were never meant to speak into your destiny. There were voices in your past that shaped you before you knew how to guard your spirit. Words that clipped your wings before you ever realized you were meant to fly. People who benefited from you staying small, staying silent, staying predictable. And the enemy used them strategically, not to destroy your life, but to delay your rise. Delay is the most subtle form of spiritual warfare. He knows he cannot stop a chosen one, so he tries to slow you until you forget you were ever called to move at all. And beloved, you've noticed it, haven't you? How certain people always had a way of distracting you at the exact moment you were ready to elevate. How confusion always hit right when clarity was within reach. How exhaustion settled on you the moment you tried to break your old patterns. How someone's opinion had just enough weight to make you question what you already knew God told you. This was not coincidence. It was choreography. There are people whose presence in your life created atmospheres where growth was impossible. Not because they were evil, but because their spirit could not handle the magnitude of what God placed inside you. And instead of rising with you, they pulled your pace back to match theirs. Chosen one, hear this deeply. You slowed down to make others comfortable. You hid your brilliance so they wouldn't feel small. You lowered your voice because yours carried authority they weren't ready to honor. You stayed in circles where loyalty meant staying stuck together instead of growing together. And heaven says, that is why you're behind. Not because you failed, but because you adjusted your pace to people who were never intended to walk your path. Does that hit you somewhere deep? Because your spirit recognizes the truth even if your heart is still catching up. There were moments you felt God pushing you forward, yet someone's doubt made you retreat. Moments when boldness rose in you, but a familiar voice told you, maybe not now. Maybe you're overthinking. Maybe it's too big for you. They didn't know they were speaking against your divine assignment, but heaven heard every word. Heaven recorded every hesitation. Heaven counted every opportunity you talked yourself out of because you absorbed fear that didn't belong to you. And now God is saying, I'm breaking the influence of every voice that slowed you. I'm removing every echo that weakened you. I'm restoring the timing that was stolen from you. Chosen one, some of the battles you fought weren't yours. They were inherited through proximity. You absorbed emotional weights that were never meant to touch your destiny. You carried burdens you did not choose. You lived under expectations that suffocated your purpose. You lived inside narratives that were too small for the life heaven designed for you. But here is the part you must understand. Heaven is not only calling you forward, heaven is separating you from what held you behind. That is why certain relationships suddenly feel heavy, why familiar places feel foreign, why your spirit is withdrawing from people you used to cling to for comfort. It's not rejection, it's recalibration. God is pulling you out of atmospheres where your destiny cannot breathe. There are shifts happening inside you that no one sees. Your thoughts are changing. Your desires are changing. Your tolerance for certain behaviors is evaporating. Your soul is refusing to stay in circles where the conversation never elevates beyond survival. And chosen one, I need you to hear this with spiritual ears. Heaven is accelerating you, even if your surroundings haven't caught up yet. The tension you feel is the speed difference between the future God wrote for you and the lifestyle you've been living. You've been praying for abundance while holding on to habits that only produce scarcity. You've been praying for elevation while entertaining distractions that drain your focus. You've been praying for divine purpose while giving your energy to assignments that were never yours. This misalignment is why your spirit aches. It's why you're restless even after resting. It's why you feel the urge to change everything without knowing where to start. Your spirit is ahead. Your destiny is ahead. Heaven is ahead. But your choices have been anchored behind. And chosen one, this is the part where heaven begins to realign you entirely. Before we go deeper into the revelation of what exactly stole your time and the hidden spiritual mechanism behind your delay, pause with me for a moment. If this message is exposing things you've never admitted out loud, if your heart is beating faster because something inside you is waking up, comment the phrase, "My timing is being restored." Let that declaration break every remaining tie to delay. Are you ready, beloved? Because the next part will unveil the exact pattern that's been sabotaging your progress. And once you see it, you will never fall behind again. Chosen one, now we step into the deepest layer of this revelation, the layer you felt but never had language for. You were not only slowed by people or by fear, you were slowed by a spiritual pattern that kept looping through your life like a silent rerun, pulling you back every time you tried to rise. This pattern didn't start this year. It didn't start last year. It didn't start with adulthood. It traces back to moments in your early journey, moments where your spirit was forming, but your protection was thin. Moments when one painful experience etched itself into your inner world and quietly shaped the speed of your destiny. Let me show you what heaven is revealing. There was a point in your past when you learned to shrink to avoid conflict, a point where you learned to hold back your dreams so no one would mock you, a point where you learned that being quiet kept you safe. And ever since then, Every time God tried to expand you, that same old pattern rose up and whispered, "Don't go too fast. Don't speak too loud. Don't aim too high. Don't draw attention. Don't outgrow what feels familiar." This is the cycle that kept you behind. Not because you lacked vision, but because your identity was fighting against your assignment. Does this explain something you've never been able to articulate? Hear me. The enemy didn't need to attack your purpose directly. He attacked your pace, and he attacked it early, before you even understood what purpose was. Because if he could slow your pace, he could slow your progress. And if he slowed your progress, you would eventually doubt the promise. That internal resistance you feel whenever you're about to take a big step, that sudden urge to procrastinate, that wave of tiredness, that fog that comes over your mind, it isn't laziness. It's not lack of motivation. It's not poor discipline. It's spiritual residue. It's an old defense mechanism from an old version of you trying to protect you from a threat that no longer exists. But chosen one, you are no longer the child who needed to hide. You are no longer the adolescent who feared outgrowing your environment. You are no longer the young adult who mistook survival for humility. Your destiny requires the version of you that heaven sees, not the version shaped by old wounds. And this is why God sounds urgent today. Because the danger is not that you're behind. The danger is that you still act like the old you is in control. Let me speak this prophetically. Your spirit has outgrown your past, but your habits have not. Your calling has matured, but your mindset is still wearing clothes from seasons you've already transcended. Your anointing has expanded, but your self-concept is still tethered to a smaller identity. And heaven says, if they could see themselves the way I see them, they would never fear falling behind again. Chosen ones. You don't realize this, but heaven has already moved your name into a new level of assignment. Opportunities have been shifted into your path. Connections have been rearranged. New doors have been released in the spiritual realm. Doors that require speed, clarity, and bold obedience. But a door means nothing to someone who still lives like they belong in the hallway. This is why life has felt so tight lately. Why your spirit is restless. Why your old ways of coping don't work anymore. Heaven is refusing to let you stay slow when your destiny is already running. And there is more. God is revealing that. Another part of your delay was emotional entanglement. You gave your time to people who did not value it. You poured energy into relationships that didn't pour back. You carried burdens for others while ignoring your own. You mothered people who should have been walking beside you, not behind you. You mentored people who drained you instead of sharpening you. You invested in people whose spiritual capacity could never hold the weight of your calling. Your heart is pure, but sometimes the pure-hearted fall behind because they're busy carrying people God never assigned to their journey. Does that strike something in your chest? You stopped to help someone who refused to move. You slowed down for someone who had no intention of growing. You waited for someone who wasn't waiting for you. You loved people who were content with your stagnation because it made them feel secure. And heaven says, the season of dragging others is over. Not because you're abandoning them, but because your calling cannot flourish in environments built on emotional debt. Many of the people you tried to save were actually meant to be temporary assignments, but you made them permanent attachments. This too pushed you behind. Not in life, not in success, not in destiny. Behind your ordained rhythm. And beloved, here comes the truth that will set you free. You have not truly been behind. You've simply been out of sync. Your timing is divine. Your calling is divine. Your path is divine. But your pace has been shaped by pain instead of purpose. And now God is severing every root, every pattern, every attachment that kept you delayed. Chosen one, before we go deeper, before heaven reveals the shift that is about to launch you years ahead of where you should have been. Take a moment right now and comment. I break every pattern of delay. Let this become a spiritual act, a declaration that heaven honors. Chosen one, now lean in. Because what heaven is revealing next is the part that almost no one ever realizes until years have been lost. Opportunities slipped away and inner strength eroded by slow spiritual erosion. You didn't just fall behind because of fear or old wounds or draining people or emotional entanglement. You fell behind because a part of you stopped believing you were allowed to move ahead. Something in you, buried deep, beyond language, beyond conscious thought, internalized the belief that you must earn progress instead of inherit it, that you must fix everything first before you rise, that you must wait for the perfect moment before stepping into alignment. But chosen one, destiny doesn't wait for perfection. Destiny waits for permission. Your permission, and for too long you withheld that permission from yourself. You told yourself, I need to heal more. I need to prepare more. I need to feel ready. I need validation. I need confirmation. I need someone to approve this move. But heaven says, no, you needed courage. You needed faith. You needed movement. Chosen one, listen. All the waiting in your life has not been about timing. It has been about hesitation disguised as responsibility. You've had divine ideas you never acted on, dreams you buried because life got heavy, callings you minimized because the people around you couldn't see them, open doors you tiptoed around because you didn't want to outshine anyone. And here is the spiritual truth most people never want to confront. Comfort is often more dangerous than attack. Attack wakes you up. Attack forces you to pray. Attack drives you into God's arms. But comfort slowly teaches you to settle. Comfort convinces you that survival is enough. Comfort whispers, don't change anything. You're fine here. You didn't fall behind because you were weak. You fell behind because you became comfortable in places God only meant to be temporary. And the longer you stayed still, the more foreign movement began to feel, the more unnatural boldness felt, the more exhausting elevation seemed, the more intimidating your own calling appeared. Heaven is showing me something now. There were exact moments in your life where God pushed you into acceleration, but someone around you guilted you into slowing down again. You wanted to grow, they wanted you predictable. You wanted change, they wanted consistency. You wanted breakthrough, they wanted the version of you that made them feel safe. So you compromised your pace to preserve relationships that were not preserving you. And chosen one, this is where spiritual delay becomes generational. Because the enemy doesn't need to destroy a chosen one. He only needs to convince them to live beneath their assignment. You've felt this, haven't you? That quiet internal war. One side of you wanting to break free, and another side pulling you back into routines that no longer fit your soul. That tension isn't confusion, it's transition. It's heaven dragging your destiny forward while your habits cling to yesterday. And here is the prophetic truth you must accept. You are behind because you keep trying to rebuild seasons God tore down. You revisited chapters He closed. You returned to people He released. You walked back into rooms He evacuated. You tried to save what He separated you from. And every time you turned backward, your future had to pause and wait for your obedience to catch up. But chosen one, heaven is done waiting. This is why the pressure is increasing. This is why the inner restlessness won't let you sleep peacefully. This is why your dreams feel louder, why your intuition feels sharper, why your spirit feels like it's pacing back and forth inside your chest. It is the sound of Aspur, divine acceleration demanding alignment. There is something crucial you must understand. When God calls you forward, everything that cannot go with you becomes heavier. People become heavier. Habits become heavier. Excuses become heavier. Comfort becomes heavier. Procrastination becomes unbearable, because heaven refuses to let you carry dead weight into a living destiny. Chosen one, hear this in your spirit. You are not behind because of lack. You are behind because of loyalty. Loyalty to old seasons. Loyalty to old identities. Loyalty to old limitations. Loyalty to old expectations. And heaven is breaking that loyalty today. There's another layer to your delay, one that goes even deeper. You internalized the belief that rising meant leaving people behind, and you didn't want to hurt anyone. You didn't want to outgrow anyone. You didn't want your elevation to trigger jealousy, resentment, or distance. So you slowed your pace out of mercy. But chosen one, hear this clearly. Your purpose is not responsible for anyone's comfort. Your calling is not obligated to shrink for anyone's insecurity. Your destiny is not required to wait for anyone's maturity. You cannot hold yourself back for people who refuse to come forward. The cost has been your timing, and heaven says the cost has been paid long enough. Before I reveal the spiritual mechanism, the hidden root that has kept this pattern alive all your life, pause for a moment. If your spirit is burning right now, if something in you finally feels seen, comment this declaration. I release every weight that kept me behind. This is not just a comment. It is a spiritual turning point. When you're ready, beloved, I will reveal the deepest cause of your delay and the shift God is about to unleash that will recover years in a single season. Chosen one. Now we enter the deepest chamber of this revelation, the part most people never uncover because it requires honesty, courage, and a willingness to face a truth that has silently ruled their entire life. You didn't fall behind merely because of wounds or fear or comfort or the people you loved too much to outgrow. You fell behind because your identity was shaped in environments that never matched your destiny. Hear this carefully. When you grow up in survival, you normalize delay. When you grow up around limitation, you normalize shrinking. When you grow up unprotected, you normalize overthinking. When you grow up misunderstood, you normalize silence. And when you grow up without affirmation, you normalize earning what God intended you to inherit. This is the root. This is the pattern. This is the spiritual mechanism that kept you behind even when your spirit was trying to run ahead. Your identity was formed in rooms too small for your calling. So even when heaven placed acceleration in front of you, your internal wiring whispered, "Don't go too fast. Don't take up space. Don't expect too much. Don't trust your voice. Don't believe you belong there. Don't step until someone gives you permission." And chosen one, every time you obeyed that whisper, your destiny had to stall to accommodate a version of you that no longer exists. Your environment taught you humility incorrectly. Your upbringing taught you responsibility incorrectly. Your experiences taught you worthiness incorrectly. You learned to survive in places where you were meant to be transformed, and instead of stepping into identity, you stepped into adaptation. You shrank to fit. You quieted to belong. You softened to avoid being misunderstood. You dimmed to avoid being resented. You slowed to avoid being rejected. But chosen one, hear heaven now. You do not belong to the environment that shaped you. You belong to the destiny that calls you. Your environment told you who you were allowed to be. God is telling you who you were created to be. And the difference between those two identities is the distance you keep mistaking for falling behind. Chosen one, you're not behind because your life is slow. You're behind because your identity is outdated. That old identity was built for survival. Your new identity is built for assignment. One keeps you safe. The other makes you unstoppable. One keeps you small, the other makes you necessary. One delays you, the other launches you. And heaven is tearing down the old identity because the new one has already been issued. This is why everything familiar feels uncomfortable now. This is why you don't fit in places you used to cling to. This is why people who once understood you now feel distant. This is why you crave solitude more than noise. This is why you feel out of sync with your own patterns, habits, and routines. Your destiny is rejecting the version of you that kept you behind. Hear this prophetic truth. Identity determines timing. Timing determines access. Access determines elevation. And elevation determines impact. You didn't lose time. Your time was locked behind an identity that couldn't handle it. But God says, I'm upgrading your identity so your timing can catch up. Chosen one. This is why you've been feeling pressure. It's not punishment. It's preparation. You're not late. You're being redefined. You're not stuck. You're being rewired. You're not failing. You're being awakened. The acceleration heaven is releasing over your life cannot be carried by insecurity, hesitation, or survival mode. So God is removing every layer of identity that was built on fear, comparison, childhood wounds, over-responsibility, emotional caretaking, pleasing people who never saw you, and silence you adopted to stay safe. Chosen one. The version of you that stayed behind is dying. The version of you that heaven wrote is rising. This is why old desires are fading. This is why old cycles feel intolerable. This is why old connections feel misaligned. This is why your spirit feels like it's stretching inside you. You're not breaking, you're birthing. And just like every spiritual birth, the pressure increases right before the release. But now we must confront another truth. One you've avoided, one that has shadowed your progress, one that heaven refuses to let you ignore anymore. You fell behind because you kept giving energy to what God asked you to let go of. Some people weren't just delays. They were detours dressed as comfort. You kept trying to fix people God never told you to fix. You kept trying to save people who drained you. You kept trying to prove yourself to people who were spiritually blind. You kept trying to heal people who had no intention of changing. You kept trying to love people who were threatened by your growth. And every time you did, your purpose paid the price. And chosen one, heaven is saying now, you cannot carry them and carry your calling. You're not falling behind because of inability. You're falling behind because of misdirected energy. But once this shifts, once your energy returns to your assignment, once your identity aligns with who heaven says you are, once you release the weights, your progress will be supernatural. Before we unlock that shift, if you feel your spirit stirring, if this revelation is waking something ancient inside you, comment this declaration: I rise into who God says I am. When you're ready, beloved, I will continue with the next revelation, the one that breaks the final chain behind your delay and opens the gate into your breakthrough season. Chosen one, now prepare your spirit, because the revelation we are stepping into is the one heaven has been waiting for you to finally confront. Everything before this moment has only been preparation. This is the turning point. The truth that explains not only why you fell behind, but why you stayed behind, even when you tried to move forward. Listen closely. You did not remain delayed because of weakness. You remained delayed because your internal map of what's possible was shaped by people who lived without vision. This is the chain. This is the unseen anchor. This is the silent saboteur that has lived in your subconscious for years. You were surrounded, directly or indirectly, by people who feared risk, feared growth, feared abundance, feared elevation, feared spiritual awakening, feared becoming more than what life handed them. And without realizing it, you absorbed their ceilings as your boundaries. You inherited their limitations as your logic. You internalized their fears as your compass. Chosen one. This is why every time you dreamed big, your mind whispered, "Be realistic." Every time your spirit pushed you forward, your thoughts replied, "Don't get your hopes up." Every time God showed you a glimpse of purpose, your identity countered, "That's too much for someone like me." But that voice was never yours. It was borrowed. It was inherited. It was conditioned into you long before you learned how to protect your spiritual gates, and heaven is breaking it. Now, let this truth land deeply. The greatest delays in your destiny have come from internal battles you didn't realize weren't yours. You've been running with weights that didn't originate in your own story. You've been fighting thoughts that were planted by others' insecurities. You've been navigating life with a worldview that was never meant for a chosen one. This is why you felt unworthy of abundance. This is why wealth mindset felt foreign to you. This is why elevation made you feel guilty. This is why success felt dangerous. This is why opportunity felt overwhelming. This is why divine purpose felt too big. Your spirit knew you were meant for more, but your conditioning taught you to settle. And chosen one, heaven is tired of watching you shrink to fit a life God never wrote for you. Let this next truth pierce through every layer of your being. You are not behind because you failed. You are behind because you kept trying to fit into a life that was too small for you. A life built on survival, a life built on modest expectations, a life built on emotional scarcity, a life built on inherited fear, a life built on cultural limits, a life built on keeping peace instead of keeping purpose. But your calling was written in a different dimension. Your destiny was carved at a different altitude. Your anointing was forged in a different realm. This is why nothing ordinary has ever satisfied you. This is why you've always felt different. This is why mediocrity suffocates your spirit. This is why comfort feels like a cage. This is why something inside you keeps whispering, "There's more. You're meant for more." Move. Chosen one, listen to me. You are not behind because you lacked opportunity. You're behind because your self-concept nowadays has been living on yesterday's software. And heaven is performing a spiritual upgrade right now. But there is another truth, a deeper one, that you must understand. You fell behind because you kept mistaking spiritual resistance for personal failure. This is the twist the enemy didn't want you to see. Every moment you tried to rise, you felt sudden fatigue, sudden confusion, sudden discouragement, sudden insecurity, sudden self-doubt, sudden emotional heaviness. You thought it was you. You thought you were weak. You thought you lacked discipline. You thought you weren't capable. But chosen one, you are not fighting your mind. You are fighting a spiritual barrier. Destiny does not unfold without resistance, and the more powerful the calling, the more intense the delay assigned to stop it. This is why your life has felt like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Not because you weren't moving, but because the resistance against you was generational, emotional, spiritual, and environmental all at once. But hear heaven now. You have reached the season where resistance cannot stop you anymore. Because revelation breaks resistance, identity breaks resistance, alignment breaks resistance, healing breaks resistance, awakening breaks resistance, and you are awakening right now. Chosen one, your delay ends the moment you recognize you were never the problem. The pattern was, and the pattern is breaking. Before we step into the next layer, where I will reveal why God is urgently calling you forward now, and what will happen if you do rise in this moment, pause for a breath. If your spirit feels like something is cracking open inside you, comment this declaration. I break the limits placed on my life, chosen one. Now that Heaven has exposed the roots of your delay. You must understand what God is doing right now, in this exact moment, to realign your destiny. Because the warning in this message is not simply, "You're behind." The true revelation is, God is accelerating you so fiercely that your past will lose all power to define you. Listen carefully. All the pressure you've felt, all the restlessness, all the discomfort in your spirit, all the sudden dissatisfaction with old habits, old circles, old environments. It wasn't random, it was divine intervention. God has initiated a spiritual quickening over your life, a supernatural acceleration where years of stagnation are about to be replaced by months of advancement. But here is the mystery. Acceleration feels like chaos before it feels like blessing. It feels like discomfort before it feels like clarity. It feels like pressure before it becomes progress. It feels like breaking before it becomes breakthrough. Do you feel this in your spirit yet? The reason heaven is speaking so urgently is because you are standing at a hinge moment, a pivot point in your timeline where your decisions carry 10 times the weight they carried before. What you choose now will shape what unfolds next, and God is saying, you cannot move slowly anymore. You cannot doubt yourself anymore. You cannot wait for permission anymore. You cannot negotiate with delay anymore. The window is open. Step through it. Chosen one, this is not motivation. This is instruction. This is alignment. This is timing. There are seasons where God whispers. There are seasons where God nudges. But then there are seasons where God summons. And this is a summons. The breakthrough season has already begun, but breakthroughs are not experienced by those who remain passive. You must partner with heaven in the reordering of your life. God is accelerating you, yes, but acceleration cannot carry someone who clings to the slow patterns of an old identity. Hear me clearly. Your life won't shift because you want it to. It will shift because you become a person whose choices match the future God built for you. And this is where heaven begins to train you. God is about to do 3 things in your life. 3 transformations so profound that once they begin, you will never recognize the slower version of yourself again. 1. God is restructuring your internal rhythm. For years, your pace was shaped by survival. You moved carefully, slowly, cautiously. You analyzed everything. You sought approval. You waited for clarity. But you're stepping into a season where certainty comes from movement, not from waiting. God is teaching you to act quickly, obey boldly, decide confidently, and trust instinctively. Your intuition is being sharpened. Your spiritual hearing is being opened. Your confidence is being rebuilt from the inside out. Have you noticed how your patience for nonsense is disappearing? How your tolerance for stagnation is evaporating? How your spirit craves forward motion even when your mind feels nervous? That's not impatience. That's acceleration demanding expression. 2. God is reassigning your energy. You've wasted too much emotional capacity on people who slowed you, places that drained you, assignments that were beneath your calling. Heaven is now cutting off every energy leak in your life. Expect sudden withdrawals from relationships. Expect loss of interest in old routines. Expect disappearance of desires that kept you behind. Expect a holy disconnection from anything that competes with your purpose. This isn't loss. This is calibration. 3. God is restoring your spiritual pace memory. Deep inside you is the original rhythm you were created to walk in, the pace of your assignment, the speed of your calling, the cadence of your destiny. Life distorted it. Wounds slowed it. Fear muted it. But heaven is restoring it now. This is why you suddenly feel behind. Not because you failed, but because God revealed your true speed. Your destiny has been sprinting. Your choices have been walking. And heaven is bringing both into union. Chosen one, your next season will not reflect the years you lost. It will reflect the identity you finally embrace. But we must go deeper still, because the acceleration coming your way is not random. It has a purpose, a timing, a divine strategy that has been unfolding for years without your awareness. And heaven is ready to unveil the reason, because, chosen one, the acceleration that is coming for you is not simply about catching up. It is about placing you exactly where heaven always intended you to be, at the exact moment creation has been waiting for. You feel it, don't you? That sensation that something massive is approaching your life, that quiet inner awareness that the season you're stepping into will not resemble anything you've lived before. That pull in your spirit telling you, prepare, align, rise. This is why the pressure has increased. Pressure is the final sign that your life is shifting dimensions. Before elevation, God always compresses. Before expansion, God always prunes. Before acceleration, God always exposes what cannot come with you. Chosen one, the discomfort you're feeling now is not punishment. It is the contraction before a spiritual birth. Your destiny is not calling you to manage life anymore. Your destiny is calling you to lead it. There is a reason God is speaking so directly. He is positioning you for something that requires a higher version of yourself than the one you have been operating in. There are assignments waiting for you that require a healed mind, a disciplined spirit, an awakened intuition, a courageous voice, a steady heart, a wealth mindset, and a readiness to move when heaven moves. You cannot carry these assignments with the identity that kept you behind. This is why God stripped old desires, removed old attachments, and woke you with spiritual urgency. He wasn't warning you in the way humans warn each other. He was preparing you for alignment. Chosen one, hear this with clarity. Heaven cannot send divine opportunities to someone who still negotiates with doubt. Heaven cannot release abundance into a spirit still wired for scarcity. Heaven cannot promote someone who still apologizes for taking up space. Heaven cannot reveal purpose to someone who protects their limitations more than their calling. But heaven can accelerate someone whose spirit is finally ready to believe what God has spoken over them. And God is saying right now, you are ready, you are awakening, you are remembering who you are. This is the moment your identity catches up with your destiny. Let me show you what is about to unfold in your life once the alignment fully activates. 1. Opportunities will appear faster than you can explain. You will not have to chase them. They will come toward you because acceleration shifts magnetism. Your presence will attract what once ignored you. Doors that stayed sealed for years will open without effort. People who once overlooked you will suddenly seek your voice, your wisdom, your energy. This is not coincidence, it is divine placement. 2. Your influence will expand suddenly. Your voice will gain weight. Your gifts will carry authority. Your presence will shift rooms. Your discernment will sharpen to the point where confusion cannot remain near you. Heaven will trust you with visibility because you have survived hidden seasons without losing your integrity. The mantle of leadership is already resting on your spirit. You feel it even now. 3. Restoration will come in ways that feel impossible. What took years to lose will take months to regain. What was stolen will return multiplied. What was broken will be rebuilt stronger than before. What felt out of reach will fall into place with divine precision. Chosen one, restoration is not coming because you deserve it. Restoration is coming because it was always written for you. 4. Relationships in your life will reorganize. Those who cannot elevate with you will fall away quietly. Those who were meant to strengthen you will appear suddenly. Mentors will emerge. Divine connections will align. People who drain your purpose will lose access to your spirit. Your circle will become smaller, but infinitely more powerful. 5. Your internal landscape will shift dramatically. Fear will lose its vocabulary. Doubt will lose its authority. Procrastination will lose its grip. You will wake up with clarity instead of confusion. Peace will become your normal instead of your luxury. Movement will become instinct instead of obligation. Your entire emotional blueprint is being rewritten. But chosen one, here is the revelation that ties all of this together. Acceleration is not a gift. It is a responsibility. When God accelerates you, your choices matter more. Your thoughts shape more. Your obedience carries more. Your timing becomes sacred. This is why heaven needed to break old identity patterns before the speed increased. Because your destiny cannot afford another cycle of delay. Your calling cannot withstand another season of hesitation. Your breakthrough cannot sit in the waiting room while you negotiate with fear. Chosen one, heaven is saying, you are caught up the moment you choose to rise. Not when you fix everything, not when you understand everything, not when you feel fully ready. You catch up the moment you agree with the identity heaven has placed on you. And that identity is awakening now. Before we transition into the next part, the practical steps God requires to sustain this accelerations and the spiritual actions that lock this alignment into your daily life. Pause with me. If your spirit feels ignited, if something inside you is trembling with recognition, comment this declaration: I move at heaven's pace. Chosen one, now that heaven has revealed what slowed you, and now that your identity has finally begun to align with your assignment, God is calling you into the application of everything you've received. Because revelation without action becomes stagnation. And stagnation is the very thing heaven is pulling you out of. This final phase of your awakening is not about emotion. It is about embodiment. It is about carrying your calling with intention. It is about cultivating habits that match your destiny. It is about making your daily life agree with what heaven already released in the spiritual realm. Listen to me carefully. Nothing changes permanently until your rhythm changes. Nothing elevates consistently until your choices elevate with it. Nothing accelerates sustainably until your structure supports your speed. Heaven is not giving you a miracle you cannot sustain. So God is now giving you a blueprint, the divine architecture of how to live, think, walk, and act in a way that keeps you from ever falling behind again. Chosen one, here is what heaven requires. 1. Start your days in alignment, not reaction. For too long, your mornings were shaped by survival, waking up and immediately stepping into stress, noise, distraction, or autopilot. But in this season of acceleration, the first moments of your day must be sacred. Before you touch your phone, before you check messages, before you engage with the world, you must let your spirit remember, I walk in what heaven has released. A chosen one does not enter a day unanchored. Your mornings set your frequency. Your frequency sets your pace. Your pace determines what you attract. If you've been waking up heavy, drifting mentally, moving slowly, it's because your spirit has been trying to rise into purpose while your habits kept you living like someone who is still behind. But no more. Your first breath in the morning must be alignment. Your first thought must be identity. Your first action must be intention. This is how you step into divine timing daily. 2. Declutter your spiritual environment. Acceleration requires space in your mind, in your emotions, in your schedule, and yes, even in your physical life. God is calling you to release what drains, distracts, or distorts. If something steals your clarity, it steals your calling. If something weighs your heart down, it weakens your discernment. If something keeps you small, it keeps you behind. Letting go is not loss. Letting go is sacred architecture. It is preparation for the blessing. Chosen one, certain habits, certain rooms, certain friendships, certain emotional cycles, they cannot follow you into what's next. Heaven has already begun pulling them away. You feel it. You've felt the disconnect. You felt the shift in energy. You've felt your spirit withdrawing from what used to comfort you. That's not confusion, that's release. 3. Honor divine nudges immediately. This is the rule that separates the chosen from the merely inspired. When God nudges you to speak, move, begin, release, rest, or act, respond quickly. Delayed obedience is disobedience in the realm of purpose. You fell behind because you waited for certainty when heaven wanted movement. But now you must act the moment your spirit feels the pull. Write the idea, send the message, start the process, close the door, take the step, shift the atmosphere. Don't let your mind talk you out of what God already confirmed. 4. Protect your energy like oil. Your calling is too precious to be poured out carelessly. Your time is too valuable to be scattered. Your spirit is too sensitive to absorb other people's chaos. You must learn the holy discipline of guarding your anointing. Not everyone gets access to you. Not every voice gets to shape your decisions. Not every emotion gets to sit in your heart. Not every opportunity is divine opportunity. When God accelerates you, He simultaneously exposes who cannot go with you. Some people will fade. Some will distance themselves. Some will misunderstand you. Some will envy you. Some will try to pull you back into the slower pace you finally escaped. Do not negotiate your speed for anyone. 5. Write what heaven is revealing. Your destiny is unfolding rapidly. New instructions, new ideas, new visions, new insights will come to you quickly. Write everything down. A chosen one who doesn't document revelation becomes a chosen one who repeats lessons. There are doors God will open that require notes from seasons you've forgotten. Documentation creates continuity. Continuity creates clarity. Clarity creates stewardship. Stewardship creates acceleration. 6. Build habits that match your assignment. This is the part most people skip. They receive revelation but remain attached to undisciplined patterns. You cannot carry divine calling with earthly habits. You cannot hold spiritual weight with fragile foundations. Your habits must reflect your new identity, consistency instead of emotional impulse, structure instead of chaos, faith actions instead of fear pauses, growth routines instead of survival routines. You are not building a life of convenience. You are building a life of impact, and impact requires intention. Chosen one, what God is preparing to release into your life is weighty. Not burdensome, weighty with purpose. Opportunities that shift generations, blessings that transform identity, assignments that unlock influence, provision that stabilizes your future, acceleration that rewrites your timeline. But you cannot hold these blessings with the hands of the old you, and that is why heaven is speaking now. There is one more layer, one final holy instruction that seals this transformation over your life.